Imagine that you have just taken a picture, and this is your outcome. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think this picture is normal? Or do you think you need to fix it? I'll give you 5 seconds. I think the majority of the answer here is going to say that this picture is totally normal and it looks fine, and adjusting it is unnecessary. But for me, it is necessary, and it haunts me to see it in this angle, 8 degrees downward. I'll give you my initial exposure with this experience. During my cultural exchange program in 10th grade in Japan, one of my goals was to take pictures of me and my friends, and of course, the mesmerizing surroundings of the country. However, as I started to take the picture, I noticed something strange. If a photo was sloped downward, I felt an overwhelming urge to fix it. And if I didn't fix it, I would think, will I have bad luck, or will bad things happen to me? And at the same time, my heart started to beat faster, and my chest tightened, and I felt like there was a knot in my stomach and a strong fear that something bad or unlucky was going to happen to me. And afterward, despite the happy smiles I showed, and the excitement I had for the upcoming activities, deep down my heart was filled with stress, confusion, and depression. I didn't understand what was going on with me. I wanted to live my original life, and I thought I was the only one in the world who was diagnosed with this. And most of all, I was afraid to inform my parents or adults around me, because I was afraid that they would think that I'm a freak or that I am diagnosed with a severe mental illness. And that was one of the darkest times in my high school life. Well, you see this picture on the left. You see the green leaf there, or the green trees? It is sloping down, so I had to make it slope up like this to prevent my bad luck. Let's look at my table. This is my table at home, decorating with volleyball, with pictures and everything. It has to be sloped up because I'm preventing my bad luck again. Well, you might be wondering what this dissonance is called that is ruining my harmony at the time. Well, let's look at it. This dissonance is called OCD. It stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. And it operates in a repeated loop that feels like you're stuck in a carefully built trap. It all begins with a trigger, something in your surrounding, bodies, or minds that sets everything up in motion. Then it is quickly followed by an obsession, a recurring unwanted thoughts that you can't let go of it. And these thoughts are very intrusive and alarming that ultimately it sparks discomfort and anxiety. And when these elements are blended together, it creates one intense experience. Then your brain naturally searches for ways to ease the distress, either through physical actions or through mental rituals. For some, it may look like washing their hands for 50 times a day, brushing their hair for 20 times a day. And for the other, it happens silently in their mind, silently avoiding some numbers or letters, just because for them, it is associated with bad things in their circumstances. And after these steps are completed, there will be a short period of relief. I call it a short period because it doesn't last long at all. Because when the trigger is on again, the cycle begins over and over and over again, unstopping, until you can get yourself out of such box, which is hard and difficult. Well, so now you see how it differentiates itself from normal worries. It is more time-consuming and more stressful. Before I go any further, I would like to address something important. Many people think of OCD as a very small thing and have big misconception out of it. I'll give you a credible example, adapted from an article by Mr. Federico Ferraris, a CBT therapist based in Edinburgh, specializing in OCD treatment. In his anecdote, he mentioned that he went to a park one day, and he met 2 girls talking about their daily life. Well, one thing stood out to him. One girl said, I'm so OCD about my notes. It is so well organized. And the other replies, I wish I have OCD. My note is a mess. Let me give you a clearer example, closer in my school. In my literature class last year, during a quiz, a teacher handed out a piece of paper. And one of my friends tried to straighten the paper and make it straight on the table and laughed, haha, OCD. And he mentioned that everybody in the class has OCD to some extent, or everybody in the world, basically. Hearing these thoughts and experiences, I noticed and acknowledged how little people know about the reality of OCD and on what it is. And let me tell you something. It is not just about making your notebook straight or making it organized. And it is also not just about making your desk spotless. But it is a mental condition that about 1 to 2% of the global population is currently diagnosed with and waking up every day trying to get through their intrusive thoughts. 1 to 2% might sound very small, but it is equivalent to 240 million people worldwide, which is a lot. And researchers believe that this is underreported because many people fear that they're being judged or bullied, or they didn't even know that they have OCD, like me at first, that I was confused about myself. But for me, I wasn't actually scared that people are going to think that I'm weird, but rather my deep fear that I was afraid that if my symptoms expanded beyond photos and it went around everything, will I be able to ultimately recover from it? And that was true. My symptom expanded beyond just photos. So by the time I decided to go to see a therapist and seek help, after running through some tests, it was confirmed I have OCD level 6, and the recovery was possible, which brought me a big relief in myself. Now, you may be wondering how it can be cured. Different sources and psychologists say different things, and we experience it differently too. Some prefer one way, and the other prefer another. It is totally normal. But theoretically, there's no absolute cure for OCD, since it is not a bacterial infection that you can just take pills and medicines and it gradually disappears from your minds. No. But it is rooted deep in our brain and threat systems, and researchers believe that it is linked to differences in brain circuits, which makes it extremely complicated or difficult for the researchers to find the exact medicine that can cure this one person. It is very hard to do so. But the good news is, research shows that OCD is highly treatable. Many individuals, including me, experience it and approach it in a cognitive behavioral therapy with exposure and response orientation, in short called ERP. This means that you will still get the intrusive thoughts, but instead of trying to neutralize or analyze them, you will allow the thought to be there, but you just don't engage with the compulsions. And over time, the thoughts will start to lose its power and become less disruptive. For example, rather than trying to push away the thoughts that bad things will happen to me, you will allow the thoughts to be there, continue with your daily routines or activities, but accept the uncertainty. And that is a way that we can cope with it. Just like this quote says, if you're going through an OCD spike, allow it to pass, don't force it to leave, give it no energy. And by now, for the past few minutes, I've been talking about my negativities, and the negativities it came out of what I have. But through the recovery, there were actually some positivities that will be with me for the rest of my life. Let's see. Due to my hardship in posting pictures just because I need to adjust the angles or other things, I ended up spending much less time on Instagram or social media, which helped me improve on my personal growth and academic growth, which is evident in my GPA boost from a mid-3s to a 4.1 within a 1 or 2 year period. And for my personal growth, I am someone who loves content creating in sports, and I'm a PR for the men's team at my school. Prior to my OCD, I used to cultivate contents that are very fast and that I didn't think thoroughly on what to put on there or what music it will resonate with the audience. But after I got my OCD, I began everything and started it very slow, being considerate of what content will the audience like. And be very careful in the captions and what I put in the videos. And ultimately, it actually helped because on TikTok, I received 89K on one of my sporting contents. And on Instagram, I received 125K on the other content, all in volleyball, which really impresses me and improved my creations in this area. OCD actually brought me positivities. Life will never perfectly be balanced. There will always be sounds that interrupt the music. But as human, we should learn to cope with it. And we should learn that different sounds can exist together. And to conclude this talk, I would like to say that if you have OCD, you're not alone, and recovery is possible, as I am currently slowly recovering from it. And if you don't, I hope you leave today with greater empathy towards those who have OCD. Even in dissonance, harmony can still be found. Thank you.